And turning now to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth playing defense amid a scathing new op-ed from his former chief spokesman that the Pentagon is, quote, in disarray under Hegseth's leadership. It comes as sources confirmed to NBC News of a second instance where Hegseth shared sensitive information about U.S. military operations in Yemen, this time in a signal chat that included his wife and brother. Last month, it became public that Hegseth also shared highly sensitive operational details about that strike in a chat with top administration officials and the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. Hegseth brushed off this report this morning, blaming a, quote, disgruntled former employees for leaking the story.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out. I have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
President Trump, meanwhile, remains publicly defiant that Hegseth's job is safe, saying today that he has great confidence in his defense secretary.
Confident, Hegseth? You're making confident in Hegseth?
Oh,
President Trump.
Why do you even ask a question like that?
There was a new report this weekend that he used it in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Joining me now from the Pentagon is NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube. So what do we know about this second signal chat, Courtney? Who was involved and how much information was shared?
Yeah, it's definitely a new one, as opposed to what President Trump just said. And why it's so different here is that the first signal chat that we all reported on several weeks ago was created by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He acknowledged that. And why that one got so much attention is because he inadvertently added a journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic, into the chat. Ryan, at the time, that seemed to be the biggest offense to the Trump administration and to the White House, was the fact that a journalist was added here. Well, now fast forward, and according to some great reporting by the New York Times and NBC News has matched, is that, in fact, Secretary Hegseth also created his own signal chat, and he was sharing information about the same strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen. But in this case, it wasn't a bunch of cabinet members and senior White House officials who were part of that chat. It was his family members. It was his wife, it was his brother, and it was his personal attorney who were on this. Why that is so critical is one of the defenses at the time about the information on the first signal chat was the fact that the people on there would have a right to know, would have a need to know about some of those. Well, that is a nearly impossible argument to make in this case. Family members, his brother, who actually does have a role here at the Department of Defense, he's a liaison from the Department of Homeland Security. His personal attorney is a Navy reservist and has a role here at the Pentagon that we know very little about, frankly. But the idea that they would need to know information about a strikes against Houthi rebels, it really flies in the face of reason here in this case, Ryan, and that is why this chat is getting additional attention. It is a completely different story than the first one that we spoke about several weeks ago.
Yeah, and Courtney, do we have any indication whether Hegseth has continued to use Signal in the aftermath of these two incidents?
Officials have not are not saying one way or the other, but the reality is we know that it is an encrypted app that officials in the administration have used. We know that the previous administration used it as well. The critical piece here is not the fact that Signal is used, it's what is being transmitted on it. Coordination, even policy discussions, information about upcoming schedules or things, all of that would most likely, in most cases, be appropriate. But when you're talking about information about an imminent, upcoming military operation where men and women's lives could be in direct danger if that information got out, Signal is simply not an appropriate venue for that kind of information, Ryan.
And we know several Democrats, now one Republican in Congress, are at least suggesting that Hegseth be removed as defense secretary. But as we heard, the president really stood by him this morning. Is there really any indication that Hegseth could be removed from office?
Yeah, and officials here are defiant about the notion that that the president is in any way upset with the secretary about this. The reality is we simply don't know one way or the other. Secretary Hegseth, as you said, took the exact same stance that he took during the first Signal story, and that was to blame the media and not to actually address the allegations that are in either of the stories. It's the same thing that Sean Parnell, his chief spokesperson, said in a statement last night. He immediately attacked the reporters rather than addressing whether, in fact, there was a Signal chat that spoke about these strikes.
Okay, Courtney Kube, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.